Hello everyone! This is Getting Started with Power BI, connecting your Salesforce data. I am your host, David Zamora, and I'll be taking you through this journey, showing you some of the capabilities of Power BI. As usual, if you have any questions, just enter them in the chat window in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Thank you. So let's get started. My name's David Zamora, as I just mentioned. Here's a couple of things about myself. Twitter handle at ZSharkAustin, and I have a blog at mydailypour.com. On the right-hand side are some of the qualifications and certifications that I have in Salesforce. Before I start off, I'd like to give a big shout out to all our friends who attend Salesforce Saturday. And since this is Austin, we always say that what starts in Austin changes the world, and this is another true fact, if you will, that Austin, the original Salesforce Saturday started here and has propagated throughout the world as a very good idea for Salesforce people, members, come together and share ideas about Salesforce and the platform. So thank you very much to all those who attend Salesforce Saturday Austin. So here's the agenda for today. We're going to cover what is Power BI, how to get started. We'll look at pricing. And let's see, we'll explore some of the PBI, which I call PBI, which is Power BI Desktop and Power BI Online. At the end of the presentation, hopefully if we have some time, I'll show you how to integrate your dashboards into Slack. So for example, when a value changes or meets a threshold, it sends out a Slack message to your destination or your, what do they call them, teams? Yeah, teams. Okay, cool, let's go. So first off, I just want to get to the takeaways. And let's jump in. This is kind of why you're sitting through this presentation. So I might as well be up front and tell you, I'm going to show you how easy it is to install Power BI and use it. Now, it's free to use the desktop version, but if you're going to use the online version, it's going to cost you some money, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. And the other takeaway is that I want you to go back to your office and try doing this yourself. So I want to inspire you to learn this tool, get started, and be the office hero tomorrow. How does that sound? Great? All right, so what is Power BI? I'll start off by just giving you some background to Power BI. Originally, way back in the day, Excel had a very interesting problem in that it could only show you 65,000 rows worth of data. And so that was a huge limitation within the application itself. Microsoft, as the story goes, went out and purchased some new technology and brought that in terms of the Power Pivot, Power Map, Power Query, and Power Viewer. So they added these capabilities into Excel. Eventually, what they ended up doing is taking some of this capability and designing it and embedding it into a desktop application for the purpose of collecting data, merging data, bringing in data, transforming your data, showing you your charts and graphs. This is just a very awesome start to the application. And then they moved on to this Power BI Online application where you can actually share your data with colleagues in your organization. So this is the history and kind of how Power BI has evolved over time. Now this is just a quick snapshot of what Power BI Online looks like. You'll notice that you can actually create some very vivid charts and graphs that are pleasing to the eye. In fact, you can change some of the colors and schemes of just about anything on the screen. You can move your tiles around, create different tiles, and once you've created this, you can actually share it with your colleagues online. Okay, and I'm going to show this in a demo. We're going to build out a few of these tiles for you. I'm going to show you how to connect to Salesforce as well. So one of the powers of Power BI is the ability to connect to different endpoints or data sources. And then this slide is just an illustration of some of the online services that you can connect to. And believe me, folks, they're adding new online services every day. And included, but not shown on this screen, is Salesforce connector, which I'm going to show you in a minute. There's also on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there's the online service that's highlighted. You can connect to an Azure database or an on-prem database or other types. You can actually connect to an Excel spreadsheet. And for example, if you want to merge Salesforce data with an Excel spreadsheet, you can. So it doesn't limit you to just a single data source when you're doing your analysis. So this is the getting started. How do we get started? Well, it's very simple, actually. What you'll end up doing is going out, if you're at home, what I'd like you to do is just query Microsoft Power BI, and you'll come to this page. It's a very popular page, by the way. And you'll notice in the middle of the screen, there's the button that says download free. And if you click on it, you'll download an executable. You can install it on your PC and quickly be able to connect to your data source. In this case, we're going to be using Salesforce. Now, Mac users, sorry, I don't know of a desktop version that'll run on your Mac, and I think this is strictly a Windows-based application. But this shouldn't discourage you, because we're going to also look at the Power BI Online, which it really doesn't matter if you're working off of a laptop or a Mac or not. On the top, when you get to the main page here, the Power BI page, you'll notice on the top right-hand side is a sign in and a sign up for free. When you sign in, you're going to sign into your organization org, right, in the cloud. And it's going to ask you a few questions. If you want to sign up for free, you can do so as well. The key to signing up for free is using a corporate email account. So if you use Gmail, nah, it's not going to work. So you've got to use a corporate email account, okay? Pricing. As we shall see in a moment here, pricing is kind of spread out between three different verticals, if you will. One is basically an author, and anybody can actually author using the desktop application. There's another section where you can share and collaborate, which is essentially the Power BI Pro. When I just introduced something different, didn't I? The first is the Power Desktop, which is the authoring. The Power BI Pro is the sharing collaboration portion of this. And then there's another thing called the Scale Large Deployments, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, so at the very top, if you were logged into the site, you go to products, you can actually see a pricing pull down, and you can select pricing, and it brings you to this page. You'll notice that the Power BI Desktop is free. You can click on it and download it. The Share and Collaborate, which is often referred to as Power BI Pro, is $9.99 per user per month. And the large-scale deployment is really a corporate thing, which I'm not going to talk about. Again, I want to emphasize something, that I'm not a Microsoft salesperson. I don't represent Microsoft. And so what I would advise you to do is, if you're really interested in this, is try the free version. And if you get really, really interested in this and you want to get in touch with somebody at Microsoft, I would suggest you do that. And then start planning a Power BI strategy within your organization. But for now, I think you can sign up, look at it for free, and explore some of the capabilities. Okay, now let's explore what is Power BI Desktop, and then we're going to jump into Power BI Online. So for that, I'm going to log into Power BI. I'm just going to go to Power. I'm going to do a Google search. I'll show you that in just a second. Okay. This is powerbi.microsoft.com. Okay, and there is a start free button here at the one. I gotta tell you guys that this page is changing so fast that every time I visit this, there's new things here. So let's see, Power BI Desktop. Okay, great. Here is the download button for Power BI Desktop. I'm going to click on it. You'll notice that this info form pops up, and I'm going, yeah, you know what? I don't want to see this. Click on that. Down on the left-hand corner, Power BI is installing. So I'm actually downloading it. So while that's downloading, okay, let's get fast forward a few steps here. Now let's just assume that the download was complete and I've installed it on my PC, which actually takes about 2 minutes to install. So this is Power BI Desktop. To start off, what I'm going to do is just basically show you around. The get data sources is from this pull down, and this is what I'm going to do. Click on more, click on the online service, and what you'll notice right in the middle is the Salesforce objects or Salesforce reports. So what I'm going to do here is connect to the Salesforce objects. I'll get back to the reports later, but notice that you also have other online services that you can connect to. Zendesk seems to be a very powerful one. SharePoint Online for those who have SharePoint, Dynamics 365, Azure, Visual Studio Teams. In this case, I'm just going to select the Salesforce object. This box pops up and says, hey, where do you want to connect? I said, oh, yeah, I'll connect to my production. And I want to include any relationships within the columns, okay? And what that's going to do is going to bring in my data, and I'll show you here in just a second. I'm going to bring in some opportunity, my opportunity object. I'm going to bring in my case object, and I'm going to bring in my account object. So here we go. Just click on OK. The next thing it says, you're not signed in, so I will sign in. Now it's authenticated. Now I'm connected to Salesforce. Click on Connect. Voila, I have got my data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select account. I'll type in case because I want cases. And I'll grab opportunities. Awesome. So I'll load it. And it's pulling in data from of these three objects into Power BI so that I can use them. The first thing I'm going to do once this is done is I'm going to look at the relationship. This is really important that I establish the relationship up front. And guess what? When I selected the Autodetect the relationship, it did the right thing. But what it did here is assumed that my case, the account ID on case, is related to account ID at the account on the account table, they call it here, and the opportunity account ID is related to the account ID on the account table as well. So awesome! It did its job. Had it not done that, I would have to do this manually. And now all my objects are now related, so Power BI understands how to connect these sources together. Cool. I'll hit close. And off we go. First thing on the right hand side, let's get familiar with some of the tools we have available. We have a visualization pane, and I'll say that again, visualization pane. And you can collapse, and you have your field pane on the right hand side. So, on the left hand side, we have our canvas that we're going to be dropping things into. So let's go ahead and do this. What I want to do is grab billing state and drop it onto my canvas. Well, guess what? Power BI is smart enough to know that because it's a state, it's going to place it in a map automatically. And woohoo, thank you, Power BI. I didn't have to do that. You saved me a step. So now I've got billing states out here. It's listed. And I want to drop annual revenue on top of that. So now I'll scroll into my map. And it shows me where all my annual revenue is coming from based off of the accounts. Okay? Pretty cool. Next, what we're going to do is I want to go grab stage names for my opportunities, drag it onto the page, and for each stage I want to grab the amount that represents that stage. Fair enough. Let's turn this into a chart. Better yet, let's do this. Scroll over to the right. This chart represents my opportunities, is it? By stage name. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the is closed field onto it. And what I'm going to do is say, you know what? I'm going to filter the is closed parameter and say, nope, I just want open opportunities. So there we have it. I'm going to do is I want to sort by amount. And voila. We've got a little pipeline. Cool. Next, what I want to show you is I'm going to grab just an annual revenue field and just drop it onto the screen. And I'm going to make a card out of it. So let's see. This is my card. Annual revenue. And what else? What else should we do here? Grab opportunities. And I'll drop this out here. Is closed. I'll turn this into a card. I'm going to filter is closed by going over to the right hand side, selecting add filter. And I just want these basically represent my open opportunities. Okay. So we've got chart with annual revenue for all my accounts grouped by billing state. I've got my open opportunities by stage sorted by the opportunity amount. I've got a box down here, a card, that shows me the annual revenue for the accounts that are listed up there. Got a box down here for open opportunities. And let's go grab one other thing just to demonstrate this. And I'm looking for industry. I'll grab industry and drop it on my screen. And on top of industry, I want to get the annual revenue. And now I'm going to turn this into a tree map. Awesome. And I'll scroll down. Okay. Scroll over to the right. And now I'm going to show you the awesomeness of Power BI. Collapse some of these fields. So let's say, for example, I'm looking at Washington State. I'll highlight Washington State. On the right-hand side, it's kind of responsive in the sense that it's looking for all the opportunities, stage that have a billing state somewhere related to Washington State. And it'll show you, it drives down the opportunities that are, this should actually be open opportunities, and I'll show you how to change that in a minute. So I click through the map, things start to change on the screen. If I click on the entire map, it shows me everything. Now I could also go back and click on this little heat map down here and click on energy, and it kind of zooms into all the accounts, shows you at the top the open opportunities that are available with those accounts that are tagged as energy. I'll do the same thing for government, food. And so now what this is doing is providing you some insight that normally you couldn't get from a standard dashboard in Salesforce if you're using Classic, of course. And going through this, if I click on the state of Illinois, well, let's see. Texas, I'll zoom in. Click on Louisiana, see what happens. Texas. Okay, Missouri. Kansas. I just selected all my states. Cool. Now, let's suppose that I am, well, before we get off this subject here, let's change this guy here. I want to show you, there's a lot of capabilities within Power BI, for example, changing colors, changing the labels. In this case, we're going to change the label. I don't want the data label to show, but I want to put a title on this called Open Opportunities. Great. And since I don't like positioning, I'll center it, and then I'll change the font size. And that's a quick way to change the label. If I want to change the coloring, I could do that as well within here. If I don't like the color, let's see what happens if I change it to this guy. Oops. Yeah, don't like that. How about the 4 color? Okay, cool. Close that out. Now, I'm using the free version. So what I'd like to do, if I had an online subscription, I can click on Publish and push it online to the Power BI online site so that I could share it with my other colleagues. But let's assume that I don't have I really can't do much from here if I can't publish it. I could see it, but maybe I can share this same file with other people, and I could say save as, and save it as something called the PBIX file, and I could email it to other colleagues. They could bring it up. Of course, they'd have to have the same login to the data source to extract the data. But from here, the power is basically you're going to push it up and share it because of the capabilities that when you click on things, it actually is responsive and gives you some insight. Now, what's really cool about the online version is the capabilities that you have there, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So here we got it. Here's my chart. I'm going to push it up to the online, or I can simply save it. Now, one other thing I want to show you is that at the bottom left-hand corner, we can add more pages to this dashboard. I can click on Add Page, Add New Page, and continue to add different tiles or dashboards, if you will. On the left-hand side, I'm going to click on the data view, and you actually get to see the data that's coming in. And you get to see the relationship that we established for these objects. Now, in Power BI, they're called tables. In Salesforce, they're called objects. But you get the point that we're able to establish a relationship between these two entities. And it's just really, really powerful stuff. Okay? So now, let's assume that I've pushed this up to the Power BI Online. So let's take a look at Power BI Online. There's a lot of capabilities in here, and I can spend days going through this, but since this is just a get started on how to use the tool, let's move on, and I'll show you what the online version looks like, okay? So to do that, I'm going to sign up, or you can sign in. Okay. Okay, folks, I am logged into the online version of Power BI, and I've got a bunch of examples up here. Essentially, what you have is a workspace, and my workspace is down here, and I've got some dashboards already created. You can actually create some reports. some workbooks if you're using Excel, or some data sets. And this is basically the data sets that I use to create my dashboards. So let me click on the Salesforce Sales Manager dashboard. And this is kind of what you see. And it's fully interactive as kind of what we looked at earlier. The beauty of having it online and being able to share this is that you can drill down into your data and gain more insight into it. So let's say, for example, I clicked on the prospecting opportunities bar, and you'll see that on the screen things start to change. I'll do that. Click on some of these, and this is no different than the desktop version, except now I'm able to add more tabs or pages down at the bottom. You click on it. I've got my lead source. It's actually a pretty big dashboard. When I'm in Salesforce, the current dashboards that are there are really tiny. It's hard to see. Isn't this a better view of a dashboard? Does everybody agree? Well, okay. Hands up, folks. I think so, too. So let's see. I'll click on this guy, and it starts to change the colors, and it starts to show you what's applicable to the bar on the left-hand side. As you click through it, you can gain insight. I'll see. These are all my closed opportunities. Scroll through, click on it. If I only see lost, or I want to see one, okay, I can quickly filter out things if I want to. And let's see, sales reps and accounts. And we're back to what we created earlier in the desktop version. Okay, so really cool stuff. I like it. There's a lot of things that you can do from here. You can pin this to a live page. You can edit the report. And let's say fit to window. And I can publish to the web. But publishing to the web will lose the connection. You won't be able to refresh it dynamically, be able to dive into your data. And I can also export this to Excel. Or excuse me, to PowerPoint. And off it goes. I'm going to return back to my workspace here, and I've got other dashboards set up. So let's say, for example, my opportunity analysis dashboard. I'll cancel that. I've got this guy set up, and beauty of Power BI Online is you can ask it questions like, how many closed opportunities I'll ask that. 1. Sort by name. Okay, that's kind of crazy. Ha! All right. Little couple of features that are not in the desktop version, but there are in the online version. You'll be able to set or manage alerts. Now, I love this capability that, for example, I want to alert someone when a certain value or a threshold has been met. So I'll click on this guy and say, add a rule. The rule is alert for opportunity count when the threshold equals, let's say 500. Right now it's 487. Save and close. And that rule has been created. So, okay, so let's go back and review the alert that I've created. So I've set this to 500. So whenever the opportunity count reaches 500, I want it to notify me. Now here's a really cool add-in to Power BI, and that's called Microsoft Flow. And I'm going to trigger an action based off this. So when that tile, alert for account or opportunity count, reaches 500, I'm going to click on Flow, and there's a whole list of things that you can do when that threshold is met. For example, I can actually push a tweet out if I want to. I can send an email to an audience, send it from my personal Outlook, start Power BI triggers, or other templates. So let's go see what's out there. There's a whole host of things that you can do. What I prefer actually is like to send the alert out to Slack. Click on Slack. It knows automatically how to connect to Slack. And I'll say use this template. And to sign up. To sign up, I'll enter my email address and off I go. So now I'm using Microsoft Flow, and I already have a Slack set up. So I'll click on continue, and then I want to select the alert opportunity to a channel called general. That's it. I'm done. Create flow and close. And now I have a flow that's on and sending alerts out to Slack. And it's that easy, folks, to send out a flow. I'll close this out. So this is set. Now I have an alert. And you can do that for just about any tile that you want. Depending on whether the threshold comes up. Let's go back. And I can set that for this value. It's a little bit more difficult for charts. You can't do it for charts, but for tiles like this with numbers, you can. Okay? Okay, we've covered the Power BI Desktop and Power BI Online. Let's move on. All right, I covered the Slack integration. I showed you how easy it is to create an alert and send it off using the integration. That was pretty cool, right? So now we're coming towards the end. Of course, it wouldn't be a David Zamora presentation without showing you Elvis the dog. You notice that he doesn't have a Twitter handle or a blog site, but he is pretty cool. So that's kind of it, folks. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Thank you.